morning. We're so happy you're here. We just absolutely adore our Women Build community and our Dallas Habitat supporters. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to be here with these wonderful ladies and enjoying this amazing chat about women, about what is important to us and how we can really make a difference and impact our communities in a very, very positive and a very, very real and authentic way. So we are so grateful that you have taken the time to spend time with us today. I'm Carmen Holmes. I work with Dallas Area Habitat. I am here to tell you a little bit about the Women Build program. And there's just a few minutes standing in between you and Lady Jade and all of our wonderful panelists. So I'm going to go through a little bit of information about our Women Build just to kick us off, to set the tone. And then I'm going to turn it over to Lady Jade. First, I'd love to tell you just about Women Build and our success story. So Women Build was born out of really the statistic that Dallas Area Habitat serves nearly 70% of our clients are women single head of household. That means they're single wage earners in their families. And so they are really, really fighting hard to do this work and to improve the lives of their families. And they're doing it by themselves. So we want to give support and love and funding and all kinds of good feelings to this work to help women achieve that economic mobility and that financial stability. So a few statistics about our Women Build last year. We actually had 10 volunteer build days. We had 10 different sponsors come out and build on our Women Build home. We had 300 women who went through our financial education program. We actually have that program and that training and that curriculum in-house here at Dallas Habitat. And we make sure that families are prepared to be homeowners if that's the route and the path that they choose. We want to make sure that they understand things like credit scores and savings and healthy debt ratio and all of those wonderful things. So we want to make sure that they're really prepared for that homeownership journey. We had over 1,100 hours donated last year in terms of how our volunteers engaged with this building the house and serving on the panel and participating in the panel and all the different Women Build events that we had. We had over 1,100 hours donated to Habitat to support this work. And then we raised nearly $300,000 last year for three pillars. I love to talk about our three pillars, and that's financial education and homeowner education. And then the new construction that we do to build a beautiful, stable, safe home for a woman, a mom sometimes. And then that third pillar is really that neighborhood empowerment, teaching people how to be good neighbors, how to be good community members, how to support one another and love one another and come together to improve and strengthen their neighborhoods. So that's really what we do the fundraising part for, is to support the women that are coming through our program. And the women in the Dallas community have shown up big time. So $300,000 nearly last year, and that's our goal this year. So there will be a call and a request for you to participate in that in just a minute. So you'll have a chance if you're chomping at the bit. Again, your donation makes a big impact. Just to give you a little shout out there and a little teaser. Again, nearly 70% of Dallas Habitat clients are women single head of household. 38% of those clients are single moms. So they have children at home that they're trying to teach them how to become financially stable and economically mobile by participating in this program. One of our Dallas Women Build homeowners at the very beginning of our journey said, "I just had to teach my children that you just don't give up. You just don't ever give up." And so that is important for women to teach their children. It's important for families to teach their children. And we're here to help come alongside these women that are on this journey and help make it a little easier for them. Currently, the statistic shows that 100% of the women that we serve, our Dallas clients, are people of color. And so that's a really important piece of our work as well, making sure that people who have not had the same opportunities in the past now have access to those opportunities. And whether it's the financial education, whether it's the access to credit that's provided by Dallas Habitat through a 0% interest mortgage, or whether it's just that preparing yourself for that next phase in your economic journey, Dallas Habitat is the partner. It's the partner that that we have to be in our community. And we're grateful that you are here to partner with us. So you are a big part of this as well. I would love to thank our sponsors. We have some amazing partners already. They are loud and proud, our Balfour Beatty Connecting Women group, they have an internal women's construction group. They call it Connecting Women, and they are leading our Women Build effort this year. We're so grateful for their engagement, their partnership. They were in the wall shop just a couple of days ago and got every single one of the walls built, ready to stand on the address for the Women Build home. So they were determined. They showed those guys what was up. So I'm just so proud of them. They came in and just nailed it, literally nailed it. So Tolleson Wealth Management, also a wonderful long-term partner, Helix Electric, Lithgow Contracting, Mr. Cooper Group, Blue Hammer Roofing, Next Bank, Baker Triangle, Chamberlain, K-Post, Dot Masonry, David Weekly, and Republic Services. You guys are awesome. So we are at nearly $250,000 raised for the Women Build program to date, and we are going to hit that 300. We are so excited, and we couldn't do it without our lovely and determined and generous sponsors, and without all of you. So again, just to tease that out, you're going to get a chance to participate here in a second. Our Women Build Dallas committee, I'd like to thank some very special women who have just gathered around this table and said, this is how we're going to do this, and we're going to do it together. So you can see the names there. Many of them represent our sponsors. So we're so grateful for them. And many of them have been in this Women Build program for as long as we've had this Women Build program, this is our 4th year. So we're grateful for their participation and their longevity and just their commitment to serving women and empowering women here in the Dallas community. All right, now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Kate Humphrey. She is going to be speaking on behalf of the Balfour Beatty Connecting Women group. Again, Kate and her team came in and built walls, and we've had meetings, and she's reached out to partners to engage them in this Women Build initiative. So we'd love to hear from Kate, just a few words about your involvement.
Hey, Carmen, thanks for the introduction. Just a quick note, Balfour is a global contractor, but we're also a national presence and then locally here in the Dallas market. So we also have a board member from Balfour, which is how we were brought to the Connecting Women the Women's Build program, and how we brought our Connecting Women's into that opportunity. So our Connecting Women's group was built around empowering women to make a difference inside of the construction industry, an internal support group for our women, and then providing a presence in our local communities, bringing the construction industry out and letting women know that it is an option for them in their career. So really, we're here to inspire other women. And part of that is the Women's Build with Habitat. And we're super excited to be a partner with you guys this year.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Kate. Kate is very modest. They have done a lot of work so far, and they are still just supporting and encouraging and giving advice and speaking into this program. We're so, so grateful for that. Okay, now is the moment that I hope you've all been waiting for. There is an opportunity for everyone on the panel discussion today. We have almost 350 people, y'all. We have an opportunity for each of you to just make a small contribution to Women Build. It doesn't matter what the level is. It could be $10, it could be $500, whatever level you feel comfortable giving. I just want you to know that it's important that each of us puts our hands on this plow, right? There are a lot of women that are trying to make their lives and the lives of their families better by achieving the dream of homeownership. This is something that many of them would not have access to without the partnership with Habitat and without your generosity. So we really want to encourage you. There is a slide on the screen now, so you can text Women Build to 24365, or you can visit our website, and there is, of course, because we are a nonprofit organization, there is a place to donate on our website, or you can scan that QR code and it will take you straight to our link to make a donation. We would be so grateful if you would just contribute what you feel led to contribute, what you feel able to contribute, and what you would like to designate to this work that we're doing. And that's empowering women to take the next step in their home journey and perhaps achieve that dream of homeownership through the partnership with Habitat. So we're going to provide them with that financial education. We're going to prepare them to be home buyers, and then we're going to let them look at the homes that we're building. We're going to originate their loan at a 0% interest rate for the lifetime of the mortgage. We're going to provide them with down payment assistance and just coaching, one-on-one coaching for the entire journey to make sure that they're prepared and they're ready and they're stable and they're able. And that's something that right now, there's not anyone else in this space doing that. We really, really want to support women, and we really want to make sure that they are able to achieve. We believe that everyone should have access to safe, affordable, wonderful housing, and you can help make that a reality for the women that we serve. All right, so that's my spiel. I'll be back in a few minutes, but right now I am going to introduce a quick video about our Women Build homeowner or home buyer. We are so excited. This is new news, hot off the press. Jade got to meet her first, and there was a beautiful reunion with our previous homeowners and also this year's homeowner. So I am excited to introduce this video to you and let you see a little bit of the warmth and love and support that we are providing to one another through this entire Women Build journey. So here's a quick video for you to enjoy.
Women Build Dallas 2023. Woo! Women Build Dallas 2023.
Women from all walks of life have come together to build stronger, safe communities. This year marks the 4th annual Women Build Dallas, and today is a historic day because we are actually bringing all 4 of these women together.
But we welcome our 2023 Women Build Home recipient, Miss Sarah Tucker. Hugs, everybody hugs. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Sarah. This is called the hot seat right now.
I still can't believe it. I just found out last week. So
Oh my God.
it's kind of sinking in. It's hard to get on your own on a single income and be able to do all the things and save money and put down a down payment on a house. It just seems so far, like I can't get there. It just makes it like such a big hurdle, but with Habitat it makes it impossible.
And that's why it's important that women support women. And that's what Women Build Dallas is all about, right?
And y'all, that is just a teaser. There's a really, there's an extended version for those of you who are like fans of the long play album, right? That's a way back throwback. There is an extended version that Lady Jade is going to broadcast out, and we're also going to broadcast out the full version. So you'll get to see the full interview that Lady Jade held with these really beautiful, wonderful women who are just strong and they're mighty and they're doing great things. So now it is my incredible honor to introduce you to Lady Jade, who will moderate our panel discussion today. Lady Jade has been with us for several years. She is beautiful inside and out. She is lovely and generous with her time and her encouragement and her power. She wants to make sure that everyone succeeds, and she gives that freely. So if you've not ever met her in person, she is exactly the same person on and off screen. She is just beautiful inside and out. So Jade, take it away. I'm excited.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I'm excited too. Today is going to be a great, great day. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. I want to shout out to our chat. One thing about Women Build, we always have the most lively chat, and I am seeing all the comments and all the love and support. And I love how everybody in the chat just rallies around everybody. So just know I see you. I definitely see you, and we appreciate it. All right. Well, we have an incredible lineup today of women who are going to teach us how we can all create change in our communities. Now, this is my 3rd or 4th year. I've lost count, but I have been here at Women Build. And I will say, out of all the conversations I get to moderate over the year, honestly, this Women Build conversation is my absolute favorite, because women are building one another. And that is so important in today's society. So I'm going to say this: buckle your seatbelts, get ready to learn, get ready to be uplifted, get ready to be filled, and walk away today inspired, ready to achieve all of your goals and to take on the world. All right. I'm going to get right to it and introduce our panelists, who are fabulous. I'm really excited about today. They have been enormously successful and a voice for change in the community. First up, I'd like to introduce you all to Miss Iris Diaz, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of the Dallas Mavericks. Thank you, Iris, for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. Also, we have Yolanda Shuford, Chief Communications and Public Affairs Officer from Beyond Finance. Yolanda, thank you so much. We also have Sarah Matson Miller, Chief Operating Officer and Executive Producer at 1820s Productions. And we also have Susan Wells Genovine, Managing Director of Philanthropy and Family Engagement at Tolleson Wealth Management. Ladies, are you all ready to inspire?
We're ready.
So I gave titles, but I love for people to kind of connect with you beforehand. So I'm going to start with Iris. Iris, if you don't mind, tell us just a little bit about who you are, who Iris is, and what you do. And again, go Mavs, okay?
Right. Let's start off with that first. Thank you, Jade. Thank you, ladies, for having me today. I'm really excited about this today. So just a little bit about me. I am a Dallasite. I've been born and raised here in Dallas. I'm one of 5 children. I am the only one that actually went to school and university. So I am first generation Mexican American. My parents are from San Luis Potosí. So very proud of that. I am bilingual, and definitely I have no kids and no family, which is why I'm able to do everything that we're doing right now. But that's just a little bit about me. So thank you, Jade, for this.
And I have to also point out the fact that you're the first Latina to hold your position, correct?
I am. Yes, I am. And I think I was the first for a while at the NBA and the youngest in the NBA for a bit. But yes, that is something that I always say I'm not proud of it because it's not something I was looking for, but it happened 3 years ago. And I think we just need more brown around so that make sure that we have a little bit more bilingual people on this side. But yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Yolanda, who is Miss Yolanda Shuford? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ooh, how much time do you have? I'm just kidding. No, I'm actually a native of Indianapolis, Indiana, but I'm a transplant into Dallas. I've been here for, almost 22 years now. And I came here by way of news. So I worked at WFAA and in the news industry for a long time before I switched over to corporate America. Actually, I've been in corporate America longer than I was in news now. So, but I am married to a wonderful retired firefighter, Ray Shuford, and we have 2 girls. And my husband and I really are believers in giving back to the community. So we'll share, a lot on this panel today, but thank you to Habitat and to you, Lady Jade, for just being such a trailblazer for women. And it's really an honor to sit on this panel today and have a chance to, like you said, uplift women today.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Thank you for being here today and for taking the time. Definitely, it does not go unseen. Miss Sarah Matson Miller.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to be with this rockstar panel. I'm just excited and to get to experience and explore a little bit more in Habitat. Thank you, Carmen, for giving us those stats. I think it's always really good to hear specifics and how organizations are impacting the community so that as participants and as people that live in this community, we can know whether it's the right space for us to get involved, to donate our time or treasures or whatever. So thank you for that overview. Sarah Matson Miller, I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Producer for 1820 Productions. What we do is we help brands connect with their target audience and provoke that audience to act, whether it's to buy more product, to learn more about an organization, or to have an experience with them. Prior to my life in creative America, I was in corporate America for 15 years with Pfizer Inc. I still have stock, thank goodness, after the last 3 years. And it was just a very unique and hard pivot for me going from corporate America into creative America. But it helps to make me uniquely me. And I believe that I can bring some of those resources and strategic experiences to the nonprofit organizations and the community involvement that I do. So
Sarah, you already started preaching about the pivot. We're going to get to that because, Lord have mercy. That is a thing. And I also want to point out the fact that 1820 Productions is an Emmy Award-winning production company. We can't leave that out. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And we also have Susan Wells Genovine. Tell us a little bit about you, Susan.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be with everybody. I work at Tolleson Wealth Management, and my job is to walk beside families in their philanthropy to help them make a difference in the world. And it might seem easy to give away money, but it's hard to do that well. But I come to the work from having been on the nonprofit side for decades. That's really where my first love is. I worked at Cristo Rey Dallas in Pleasant Grove to help build that school. I was the founding director of development. I was the director of development at Genesis for a while, and I was the director of development at the Foundation for the Education of Young Women, which is now the Young Women's Leadership Network in Texas. So doing work in the community is my first love. I'm an attorney by training. It's fun to have been on both sides of the equation to try to make the world a better place. And I firmly believe that women are the key to this. And I can't wait to have a conversation about all the work that Habitat's doing to make that possible for our community.
I told you guys we have an amazing panel. I am excited. I am a fan. Some I know, some I don't, but I've absolutely been slightly Googling and Insta stalking and all that stuff to get to know you. So I feel like I know everybody personally. So thank you all for your time today. Well, I want to jump right into the conversation and acknowledge the fact that there has been continuous change the past few years, right? Obviously affecting women in Dallas in particular, but all over the world. So the latest data and multiple studies tell us that women are maxed out, absolutely maxed out. Think about it. We're trying to balance work, childcare for those with children, family. Some of us take care of loved ones, finances, and that list goes on. So I want to ask the ladies, especially because you all hold huge titles within your companies. How are you finding the time and the energy to take on one more thing, like being a change maker in the community? I'll start with you, Yolanda.
Ooh, that's a heavy lift because man, I think it comes with maturity in just being in the space of corporate America and doing so many things. But it also, I think once you've figured it out of climbing the ladder and things, then you start finding ways outside of work to sustain you. So I think in order to balance it all, you really have to, I mean, time management is up there like number one, right? You got to figure it out. But you also have to figure out what's important to you. Like for me, I love my job. I love communications. I work with government relations. I mean, I do a lot of different things, but my happy place is really outside of work. So the things that I do for women in the community, the class that I teach to uplift women, the mentorship that I offer. And then my husband and I talk. So it takes a communication that, hey, this is what I have this week. We keep a big calendar in our pantry. Here's what we have. But then we carve out time for date night, and we carve out time, for the girls. Both of our girls are in college, so they don't give us a chance to miss them. Every time we look up, they're at the house. So it's like, okay, we're gonna have some family time. So those are the times when and I don't have kids of my own. They're my beloved daughters by marriage. And as soon as we got married, I knew just from the home that I grew up in that you have to carve out time for family. So that's the time when if we're gonna have family night, I drop everything because they deserve our attention. They deserve all that. If I'm going to be mentoring, I tell my husband, okay, I'm not going to be able to join you for dinner night. I've got to meet with the mentee because she's having some problems. So you just find the time. I think it's finding the time too, because sometimes we say, we don't have time, but you can find the time. You just have to understand how to manage your day, and it can be done. And it can be done. And then there are times when if I can't take it on, I don't. There's just
That's
some
good.
times
That
people say,
boundaries. Yeah, setting those boundaries.
I can't do it all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Iris?
I was close to the mute button. I think for me, and I love what Yolanda said, but it's true. It's like, if you really wanted to do it, you'll find the time. But at the end of it, for me, my story is very different because I don't have kids. And trust me, I was not jealous of you guys when you guys were probably getting sick of your kids during COVID. I was hearing, thank God I don't have kids. And I also realized that there's moments like this where I run into, especially when you hear someone saying, hey, I'm leaving at 3 o'clock because I'm going to go golfing, then I'm like, I have 5 other things that I have to do. Their why is very different from my why. My why of why I want to do 5 other things is because I have something to do. I have something that no one else is doing. I have to go volunteer. I have to go speak. I have to be involved. I have to. I don't need to. I have to, because it's something that I didn't have before. It's something that I need to do in the moment that's important to me, that I will find the time. There's a Spanish saying called el interés tiene pies, which it does never translate well in English. It's called interest has feet. It just rhymes. That's the way that's why they say it like that. But interest has feet in the sense of, if you're interested, you're going to go do it. If you have the time, you're going to go do it. And I look at my balance, especially with work and being in sports, it's always chaos. I'm 7 days a week. And you feel like you're always on the go. But at the same time, I find the time to be part of panels like this. I find the time to go volunteer for young Latinas and hopefully to find them scholarships and grants and teach them how to dress, how to speak, everything, because I didn't have that when I was growing up. And how do we make sure that we pay it forward in the space that we're in right now, in the time that I can to do it, Saturdays and Sundays when we don't have games, or in the mornings or in the afternoons, or last night. So it's, if you have the time, if you don't have the time, you make the time if you really want to do it. So I think that's really important. It's because that is part of my why, of why I am who I am, and why I want to do the things that I want to do in the tenure that I'm in on this world, period, not just in this title or this company, but in general, what I can do to make a difference.
I love that. Thank you so much. Sarah?
I mean, I do love everything that you guys have said thus far. That was a great comment. Interest has feet. That's a beautiful thing that I can't say it in the elegant way that you said it in Spanish, but you're gonna have to teach me that one. But interest has feet is really important. I think the thing for me, I'm an executive producer. So everything for me is strategy. How do you accomplish? My job is to solve problems for our clients and get things to the finish line, right? So everything is kind of scheduled for me. What I have found over the years in corporate and now in creative America, where I heard the creative people, is that, for instance, for mentoring, I think somebody mentioned that I schedule like 2 days a month those are mentoring days. I'm going to make sure that I'm available to people that want to meet or have conversation. On Sundays, that's like my Sabbath. That's my family time. Really, in order to get on a Sunday, we have to be giggling, like, you are going to provide belly laughs to me. You are going to feed my soul in order to get on the Sundays, because that's kind of a sacred day. A couple of other things that I used to be very overscheduled before the pandemic. Very, every night had stuff. Since the pandemic has lifted for the majority of the country and the world, I have been very selective and prioritized based on the organizations that I'm involved in, the girlfriends that I want to be around, hang around, those that feed my soul as opposed to take from it. If you're a heavy complainer, I can't receive that as much anymore. So you really don't get on my calendar. It's just is the new Sarah that I'm doing. I need people that it's a reciprocal relationship, that I'm pouring into you, you're pouring back into me, and we're building and influencing the people that are around us and who we're supposed to touch. So that is really important for me. I'm very selective about it now. And something really simple that I did, this might sound stupid, you guys might already do it, but I started unsubscribing to the litany of things that were in my inbox, right? In my business inbox, as well as my inbox that I send everybody else to. So in my business inbox, the things that didn't align with my heart, passion, or business, I'm unsubscribing to that. Or for now, in my other email, that's, where all my emails from, Banana Republic, Athleta, all that kind of stuff goes. I've started to unsubscribe because what I found, it's just too much noise. It's too much clutter to have to sift through. So I've started unsubscribing and allowing my space and time to be freer so that I can give my brain the things that matter, as opposed to continually digging out my inbox. And I'll stop there.
That's really good. That's really, really good. Susan, what about you?
I mean, it so resonates with me that isn't everybody tired after this unknown kind of scary situation we've all just been through? I mean, it hadn't been normal. And I'm thinking about our homeowners who are rearing children, who are now managing a home and who are working and managing their finances. There's so many roles that we ask ourselves to play as women, or sometimes have to play. And where I am in my personal journey, just being tired doing those roles myself. I have 3 kids and 3 stepkids. The stepkids are grown, but those are 3 full-time roles if you want to do them like that. And I've known this for my whole life, but it has been a practice I'm just starting, which is I'm asking for help. We got to go together. And sometimes you can pay a little and have them bring the dry cleaning to you. But if you can't, there's got to be a community somewhere in your neighborhood, at your place of worship, at your office, where it's okay to say, like, guys, I need help with this. And how can we do this together and make everybody's life a little bit lighter and get ourselves some rest? And let me close this thought out by saying, in my newish role at Tolleson Wealth, I get to meet some of the world's most successful executives who happen to be male. I meet them women too, but the older guys, the guys who were just the guys when they were doing it, some of the first conversations they say to me is, did you ever know about my mentor so-and-so? Like, these guys are not doing it by themselves either. And so what I've learned from the men leaders and try to do myself, I think it's hard for women to say, I need some help.
That is okay. So I'm taking notes, and I'm going to tell you why I'm taking notes. I just made a career transition. And so a couple of years ago, I did this thing where I set aside a couple of weekends out of the month where I just put booked. So no matter if somebody tried to book me, that was my time. I stole that from Michelle Obama. She said, do it before the year starts. Now that I've made this transition and I'm more so an entrepreneur, I completely have lost any sense of time management. There are weeks that I look at my calendar and I'm like, who scheduled this? It was me, but I am starting to be exhausted again. So I am taking notes. I'm hearing boundaries was one. Yolanda, you shared that one. I also love this one. Iris, you said letting your why guide you. Because sometimes you could be all over the place doing things and your why is not guiding you. You're just doing things because it was presented to you. This was a really great one too. Sarah, you said you were protecting your peace and cutting the excess by unsubscribing, which is amazing. And Susan, asking for help. Like, okay, this is good. I told you all this was going to be a good panel. And selfishly, I don't even know if it's good for everybody else, but I walk away feeling so filled. Like, I'm over here seriously taking notes. Don't forget in the chat, if you all have any questions at any point, please feel free to start putting your questions in the chat. At the end, if we have time, we will hopefully be able to get to those because they are dropping nuggets today. I want to talk about imposter syndrome. As women, it doesn't matter how successful we are. It doesn't matter what our title reads. Imposter syndrome is self-doubt. Those are struggles that all women face. Sometimes we don't like to talk about it, but I think it's a real thing that I'd love for us to share. If you ladies don't mind being vulnerable and sharing some of the tactics or tips that you all, I guess, implement when it comes to dealing with insecurities and fears and overcoming that self-doubt. Whoever wants to jump in, feel free.
Listen, I'll start. I have no problem with it. Being vulnerable in front of what I learned long ago is what I have, I freely give. It is not just for me, it's for whoever comes in contact with me. I feel like I have a duty to share. That's why I'm here. And for me, what I do, and I definitely suffer from it. I wish I was able to get control of it a long time ago. I think just maybe over the last 20 years, we got a word for it, which was imposter syndrome, etc. For me, I have to do self-talk. I have to encourage myself before going into meetings many times. Over my course of my career in corporate America, I was very much many times the only woman, definitely the only diverse woman. I'm adopted, so I was raised in an all-white environment, so very much was always the only in the spaces. And so for me, in having struggled with insecurities based on a litany of things, I have to self-talk. And I actually even put affirmations on my mirror. I've always done it. I did it long before Michelle Obama does it, but that's for me what I have to do in situations where I have to talk to, like, you be on panels, when I have to moderate things. I am always trying to make sure that I am grounded. I pray and meditate in the morning, and I work out. So those are things that help ground me for the day. And then before going into big situations, I really have to self-talk. Sometimes I'll call somebody that I know can encourage me in that moment if I'm feeling it a little low. And then I do affirmations. That's how I do it.
Amen.
I
love
echo
that.
those affirmations, and I actually have a list. So ladies, if you want a list, I've got 5 pages of affirmations for your health, your mind, your body, your spirit, all of that. I'm happy to share that. The affirmations are so important. And I think what we have to also remember is we have to affirm ourselves, but also don't allow others to have power over you. And sometimes we have power over ourselves, right? Like Sarah said, it's me who's the vulnerable one, who has to tell myself that this, but there are some days when somebody can say something to us, completely destroys us, and I'm thinking, well, who's the judge? Why are we giving power to someone and allowing them to decide how great we are? You have to tell yourself how great you are every day. And if no one else tells you, remember, and I'm spiritual, so as long as God is proud and I'm proud, we're good. I'm not going to allow someone else to have power. I have a team member struggling with that right now. Someone at the job continuously destroys her every day. They can say one negative thing and it's just destroying her. And I'm like, but who's the judge? And why are you giving that person the power to decide how great you are?
That's good. That's good. Thank you so
Can
much.
I add something to that real quick?
Absolutely.
I also, this is the benefit of some birthdays and some experience. I think we have this group of they out there, and they are the ones who are accomplished and comfortable, and they know what they're doing, and we are the new ones. But I think most people are just trying to figure it out. I think a lot of anybody has been at the edge, and they're just solving problems at the edge to their success like everybody else. So that's another thing I tell myself, which is, I'm not alone in this, and everybody else knows, like, a lot of people are just trying to figure it out.
I agree. I would say too, the one thing to Yolanda's point, for me, I didn't know what imposter syndrome was. I didn't know that was a thing. And I was like, well, I don't know if I have that, because I didn't self-diagnose myself with this, but it was more as a Latina, and as there's not many of us either. To me, my goal was to make sure that I knew a lot more, just to come even with showing up in the room. And that was the mentality that I always had, where you're coming into a room, or you're in the space, you're at the table with all these men, and you have to teach yourself and educate yourself and get all these certificates and read everything like 10 times harder just to feel like you belong at the table. But then when you get there, you realize you're probably the smartest one there half the time, because you know more than they do. And you start realizing, I can do this. This is easy. This is nothing. And I think for me, that's where I started kind of gaining my confidence, where I know this. Why do I doubt myself? I know it. They don't know what I know. I don't know what they know. Just when you're interviewing people, or you're getting new women at the top, and you're like, come join. There's more room. We want people like you. There's no room for us to stomp on all over each other. You bring something, Sarah, you bring something, Yolanda, you bring something, Suzanne, everybody, Lady Jade, you all bring something together. We all have something really cool together, and can be successful together. But for me, when I started going into these rooms or tables, and you're sitting down and you're speaking, and everyone then starts gravitating to like, hey, Iris, can you help? Can you help? That's just assuring that you knew what you were doing before, and you know what you're doing now. Bump that. Just don't focus on that necessity that you don't need, that negativity when you're waking up in the morning. And for me, I'm like, it's just me. I'm waking up, and if I have to learn something else, and I have to teach myself something else just for myself, it's for myself at the end. It's not for anybody else. But at the end of it, it's also so that way you can then help the next generation, and the next, for me, the next young girls, to say, hey, don't feel this way, because guess what? They don't know everything. We're trying to figure it out. Just like Susan said, we're trying to figure it out too. We don't have the answers. During COVID, we didn't have the answers. We're making it up as we go half the time. So don't feel like you are less than them, because you're not. You're actually more, and more than what people expect. So I think that's where I kind of focused on, and never really doubted. It was more of, how do I get better? How do I get better for myself, not for everybody else.
I think it's so comforting knowing that no matter what walk of life we all come from, no matter how successful we've all become, we all, again, to your point, just repeating, we're all trying to figure it out. And we have to ignore that little tiny voice in our head that tells us that we don't know, that somebody else may be smart. And what if they are? It's fine. Then we can learn from them too, right? We all bring a power when we're allowed to be in certain rooms and doors are open for us. I always say this, like, we don't necessarily have to be qualified. Sometimes we're called. And then when we get there, things will work out the way that they're supposed to work out regardless, right? And sometimes you just have to walk into that, but ignoring that voice that can be so loud sometimes to say, you know, you're the only, you know how you're different. Like, we will point out differences in ourselves before sometimes other people even recognize the differences in us, right? So that's so good.
And I think an important point on that, Jade, is really as I made the pivot into entrepreneurship, into creative America, you just do it scared.
That is good.
You just do it scared. You just walk forward and, like you said, learn and grow into it, but you just do it scared. That's what you do.
That's so good.
And then be prepared. As Iris said, you got to do the work. You got to do the work, and you will, right? If you're moving into a situation, you'll do the work, but then you just do it scared. And after a while, it just all falls together.
That's good. That's good. You know, each of us has a responsibility, right? When we've been blessed to be in a certain position, we have a responsibility and a voice. And so we all have the opportunity to create change in our workplace and in our community. So I'd like to speak, I'd like you guys to touch on that. How are you using your voice and your roles to create change in your workplace and in your community? Iris, we'll start with you.
I think for me, it's definitely, I'm now sit on 6 boards or in 6 groups. And trust me, I'm not trying to win a medal for all of it because I don't even know how I find the time. What I noticed too is a lot of people say, oh, how do you find the time? I'm like, I want people to ask, why do you do it? That's the bigger question and the most important question. Not how do you do it? How are you? It's like, why do you do it is the most important thing, because I think that will that helps and identify who you are as a person and maybe teach and educate and share, you know, anything that you have going on. But for me, I didn't have that. I didn't have people, you know, helping me with scholarships or understanding what grants were or understanding where to go, just period, because my parents were just happy that they were just happy to make sure that we had a good life, and that's it, whatever that good life was for us. But for me, it's like, I refuse to be a stereotype that we were, you know, kind of getting, especially being young and being Latina, being bilingual, being seen as uneducated so many times. And even to this day, even in this role, sometimes you get the aha moment. Jade, I think I told you last time, it's like, oh, by the way, she's the CMO. Oh, it's like, it's okay. We're looking a little browner these days, but it's fine. But for me, it's all of that encompasses. And I think, like you said, we all have a story. We all grew up differently. We all have different reasons why we are the way we are, why we come with certain armor, why we come with certain tools to kind of battle some things every now and again. But it's really more of, I didn't have that when I was younger. How can I be that now for the people that are going into the same realm, or they're going into the same road that I did, that way to help them get there faster, not get there in any way, but just making sure that we have more bilingual folks, making sure even for us right now, making sure we have more bilingual marketing, that we have more Latinos in sports. We have 5 more Latinos in my team, period. And before, when I got there, it was just 3 of us. So for me, it's important to make sure, not only in the role that I'm in, to be able to grow and expand for more Latinos and more bilingual people, but it's the importance of why that, and educating employees now, and educating vendors, sponsors, you know. And I think working with leaders that allow you to do that makes your job much easier.
So Iris, I want to real quick, and don't mean to interrupt, but you're really passionate about your why. And I've heard the story of your why. If you could just briefly share with us your story of your why, because it was not easy for you.
No, so I always wanted to get into sports. And for me, it was like, how do I get there? And Reese, I've talked about this story and I didn't realize how important this story was because a lot of people started resonating to it. I've been in marketing for about 16, 17 years already. But for me, it's like, I'm going to get in sports and I'm going to do it somehow. But for me, it was really falling into what did the people in sports do beforehand for me to kind of get into that realm as well. I was working for Al Dia newspaper. I was working for iHeartMedia. I was working for all these different media places. I was working for an agency. I was hustling on the side. I was translating. I was an MC for American Airlines Center for the Spanish shows. I was trying to make sure that I was always in and connecting with people, with the right people all the time to get to this space. It wasn't easy. It never is easy. And I went to UNT, I went to SMU. I dropped out of UNT because I couldn't afford it anymore. I was working full time, going to school full time. And it was just, you have to self-motivate yourself to know you're going the right direction. It took me this long to get here. Just imagine what I can do the rest of my time. That it's really my parents, Mexican immigrants coming to the States. I'm like, if they could do it without any education, without understanding the language, this is simple to me. This should be a no-brainer for me. And for me, they've always been my why. You're not going to make me cry like you did last time. So I'm going to stop right there. As I want to hear from everybody else. But my parents, for sure, they are hustlers. They're the ones that never call into work. They're the ones that have retired twice already, and they're still going back to work. And for me, it's like, they're the reason why I keep doing what I do, because they also needed people like myself back then that weren't available for us to just simple translate things on a document. So that is very important to me.
Iris, I love your spirit and I love your story and I love your love for your family. And yes, last time I spoke to her, we did cry about, how her parents were so determined and look what they produced. So kudos to your parents. Seriously. I mean, kudos. Susan, what about you? Let's talk about how you're using your role to create change in community and also in career.
Well, let me start with in the career. I'm such a fan of what Balfour Beatty's doing with their women construction group, that to provide a community at work to support each other, and I guess women in the construction industry. I think that's what it takes. And one of the favorite things I do at work, it happened by happenstance, but we've got a group of women leaders, any woman at Tolson who's anywhere in their career. We get together once a month, and talk about what are things that matter to them. It started with just a book. We had an author speak to us. The name of the book is Think Like a Breadwinner. And there was such energy around, how do I take control of my personal finances? And then does that mean at work? That means at home, to empower myself to get where I want to go and meet the needs of myself and my family. And listening to that group of young leaders and providing them mentorship. And a word I've learned or leaned into more lately is not just mentorship, but sponsorship. I think we have to be a community for each other. I think we have to say, here's what I've learned. I've traveled this road. You can avoid, that step and that pitfall, but also like, I'm going to cheer for you. I'm going to bring you with me. And so that's work we do at Tolson. And then in the change in the world, I have to confess, I've been known to volunteer too much, but asking myself after the pandemic, what is it our need right now? I'm helping change the world by walking along families and asking them questions about impact. And we work with 220 families who can make a lot of impact. And I'm pushing on, are you making the impact and the thing that you're called to do the best way you can? Are you bringing the family with you? So when the kids get out of school and I'm empty nester, I'll be back in the community finding a way, hopefully, to serve. But right now I'm trying to do it through work in those two ways.
Outstanding. Sarah?
I love that you said that, Susan, because I'm going to tag into something that it was Marianna. I don't know if I said your name right in the chat. You just left and you're doing a small business now, and you're trying to balance giving in the community to building your business. Marianna, right now might be your time to build the business and to focus on that and do the best that you can in your small business, especially since you've made that jump and it's a hard jump. So maybe that's the time. And as you're building your business, if you have an outstanding business, a strong business, you're giving back to the community, right? By building a strong small business and hiring people in this market, which is what we need. We need people. Small businesses bring jobs more than large corporations. It's small businesses that bring jobs to communities. So Marianna, we need you to have a successful business and maybe focus on that right now, as opposed to trying to do too much, because I think it was making you sick and you're trying to balance things. That's, I think, really, really critical, and proud of you for making that jump. Bravo to you. That's really hard to do. So bravo to you. Cheryl asked a question about how do you get involved with boards? Because I think everybody on our panel is involved. The first thing that I did when I pivoted from corporate America into creative America, I traveled 75% of the time. So I didn't know this market very well, and I didn't know where to get to place my skills and talents to serve. So I volunteered at the Texas Women's Foundation. They do what's called a grant cycle, and it allows you to go into nonprofits in this community and learn about them, and then give grant dollars back to them. You're a part of the team that interviews them to give them grant dollars, right? It was a great way to learn about nonprofits in this community. It helped me then to go, oh, I really would like to get involved in the Family Place. That was the first board that I got involved in. And it was based on doing the grant cycle a couple of times with the Texas Women's Foundation. So that might be one of the ways to get involved. For myself personally, I was building a business brand at the same time building a personal brand. So it really helped me to focus in on the whys. I really wanted to get involved in the arts, in women, in leadership. And that's where I went then to nonprofits. There's so many great ones in this community. Went to nonprofits to see what they were doing. And I started volunteering. And then from volunteering, I was asked to serve in a capacity like board. To your point earlier, Iris, to your parents and the hustlers they are, you can't teach work ethic. You either have it or you don't. So if you have it, on anybody that's listening, if you have work ethic, that is your superpower. Use that to create pathways for you to get involved in organizations, to give back to this community. The other thing, last thing I'll say is sometimes it's your time, and sometimes it's your treasure, which is your finances, right? Not everybody has the time. If they have young kids, if they're building a business, any of these other things, you might not have the time to volunteer, but do you have treasure? Can you give $10? Could you give $20? There are also giving circles in this community. If you are a diverse person or want to support diversity, there's the Hispanic 100. There's the Heritage Giving Circle. There's the Village Giving Circle. These are Orchid Giving Circle. These are giving circles of diverse women that are pooling their money to then have more impact into spaces in the community. For instance, I'm a part of the Village Giving Circle. Over the last 4 years, I think we've given close to $1 million to nonprofits in this community. Hispanic 100 has done the same, as well as Orchid. So just a different spaces. It could be your time. It could be your treasure. It could be both. I'll stop with that.
That's great. Cheryl said, thank you so much, Sarah, for answering my question. Also, Annette said, Iris, you had her tearing up, telling your story. Also, there's Women Build. You can also, donate your time and your money to Women Build as well. Yolanda, everybody wants your affirmation list. So maybe later on you can put that in the chat as well.
I'll send it.
Absolutely. I'd love for you to chime in on this question as well about building your community and career.
And change at work. I would say bring your whole self to work. I don't know that we do that enough because there's different cultures everywhere. But when you come to work to affect change there, bring your whole self, bring your womanhood, bring your background, bring your experience, bring your, ethnicity, whatever it is, gender, race, bring your whole self to work and educate. Like our culture at work is performance. It's a performance culture. It's not the feel good, warm and fuzzy, let's have fun. It's performance, but I don't care about that. I bring all of myself to work. I educate. I talk about diversity and inclusion, whether they want to hear it or not, so bring your whole self to work. And then in the community, I think somebody had mentioned, I think it was Susan, women need to be a community. I mean, we need to uplift each other. We need to come together. We need to provide safe spaces for each other to be vulnerable. And so one thing that I do in the community, I teach a class called I Surrender. And I used to teach it at my church at Concord for many years. And then we switched things up in 2018. And so now I'm teaching it on my own on Sundays for 2 hours for 7 weeks. And it is a safe place for women to come to speak and to learn how to let things go in their life so that they can have not only a deeper relationship with God, but just a holistic, better view of wellness and community. And the women do come together, for those 7 weeks. And then we're going to continue some other things that later. But I think everybody's touched on, just getting involved and giving of yourself, but using all of you to inspire others. I think that's the main thing. I'm a very, very big proponent of mentorship.
I am as well.
Mhm.
I wish I would have sought mentorship years ago. I always thought mentorship was like something you did in high school or something you did in college, But my question is, they always say it takes a village to raise a child, but you become an adult and you're like, where is the village, right? And sometimes you have to go and seek out the village yourself. You have to be able to be humble enough, as Susan touched on earlier, to say, I need help. I need guidance. I need someone to pour into me. And you have to go find the mentorship. And as Sarah and Iris touched on earlier as well, you have to be prepared. When you go seek mentorship, are you prepared, right? Have you educated yourself even more? Are you being proactive? Because mentorship is not about somebody just giving it to you. They are going to guide you, but you have to be prepared and you have to be ready. This is not a hand out, it is a hand up. We lift as we rise, right? And so making sure that you're ready for that moment when you do seek out that mentorship is also equally as important. So
Jade, can I say something about mentorship?
Absolutely.
Mentorship, I've always had the firm belief that mentorship is your responsibility. If you want to be mentored, it is your responsibility to be noisy. Absolutely be prepared. Absolutely be prepared, but be noisy. Reach out to that person, give updates, to that person every quarter. If you want to get on their calendar, you're probably trying to be, if you're a mentor of Susan or Yolanda or Iris, these are busy, crazy, amazing women, right? So you got to be prepared, be ready for them, but you also have to be noisy, right? And make sure that they're aware of what you're doing, how you're doing it. I'll just give a small, quick story. I was connected to a CEO of a tech company on the West Coast in Silicon Valley, female African-American, first female African-American to be a CEO of a tech company. Somebody connected us based on what my long-term desires are to be on corporate boards. I had 15 minutes, literally 15 minutes with this woman. I had at least 15, maybe 20 questions. I know it was too many questions, but I was prepared because I knew she was only going to give me 15 minutes and I had to make them very purposeful 15 minutes. Why? Because I wanted the hour the next time she was in town. And it was the scariest 15 minutes of my life. She was on it, right, in that 15 minutes, but I earned the right to get more time with her when she came into town the next time, right? And every quarter, I would email her and give her updates. Hey, this is what I'm doing in the community. This is how my business is growing. Just so you know, my desire is still to be on a corporate board in the future. This is what I'm doing to prepare. And I would just give her updates and say thank you and keep it moving, right? But I was noisy enough, but paced enough to not overshadow her, but serious about what I needed and wanted from her and what I was willing to do in return, which was show up correct.
I love that. I have to tell a personal story. If I'm being honest, I was at a transition point in my life and I actually reached out to Sarah, and she and I had not really, I've always admired her from afar. We've always crossed paths, but to her point of speaking up and coming with the information that you need to know as she poured into me. And I just want to put that out there, Sarah, because you do so much more than, and not to take it in another direction, but you have provided everything that you're speaking of. You have also provided it for others as well, which is really huge. The chat is going crazy about mentorship. As I told you, sometimes these conversations take a life of their own. So like to ask the ladies, Sarah, you touched on it just a little bit, but how do people find mentorships if you don't know people? Like you said, people's schedules are busy. How can people seek out healthy mentorships? And as you said, they're going to be prepared when they do that. Anybody wants to jump in on this?
I think you got to look around. I mean, at your church, your job, and don't be afraid to ask someone. But like Sarah said, I'm that way too. If you want to be mentored by me, you gotta set the appointments. You gotta let me know what you need. I'm gonna do my part in checking up and giving you the best that I have, but you have to do the work. But I think so many times we do have people around us, and we're scared to ask because, oh, they might be too busy, or may just ask them, because part of our success is, giving back. So, we love a chance, an opportunity, especially if somebody's been through something we've been through. Oh man, that means I didn't go through it in vain. If I can give back, I did not go through it in vain. So just ask the person. All they can tell you is no, be prepared. Or they may say not now, but maybe I can mentor you, or maybe I can suggest somebody, which might even be better. Pray about it, pray for a mentor, but really just look around. They're probably around you. You just might not know. If your work has a mentorship program, like when I worked at GM Financial, amazing mentorship program. Join the mentorship program if you can, if you have one at your job or at your church.
That's good. And to Sarah's point, you may only get 15 minutes, guys. Like, you're not necessarily going to get that hour. You have to earn that. I love how you said that, because people are busy. You may only get 5 minutes. Are you prepared for the 5 minutes? What is the main thing you need guidance on? What is the information you want to walk away with? So that's really good. Okay.
I'm going to add one more thing, because
Please, yes.
One of my professors said, and it's so true, but it goes to, it was for work, but it was asked actually on LinkedIn. If you're looking at people on LinkedIn, because a lot of times they're not in your city, they're somewhere else, ask for advice. Ask for advice first. Don't ask for a job. Don't ask for, be prepared, everything. Be prepared. For me, I dismiss anybody that has the cookie cutter questions. To me, it's cookie cutter. You're not thinking about it. You're not prepared. You're not customizing anything to what I may be good at. But for me, it's ask for advice. Ask for, hey, do you have a few minutes? I need some advice to get blah, blah, blah. Here's what I need. Exactly. So that way I can say, yes, I do have 15 minutes and I can certainly help you. Or to Yolanda's point, I can actually, let me direct you to somebody else that could probably do it. I don't want to waste people's time, and I don't want to be just because, oh yeah, it's me, I'm going to help you. No, I definitely want to make sure that I connect with the right people and connect them to the right people that might be, you know what, Lady Jade might be better for that for me. Or maybe it might be Sarah that might be better. But for me, it's ask for the advice. One thing he said was, people love talking about themselves. Ask for advice and they're going to share that with you.
That is amazing. That's so good. All right. We only have a few more. This went by fast. It really went by fast. We only have a few more minutes. I want to talk about life lessons, because, life is about W's and L's. And I say wins and lessons. I don't say that they're losses, because we always learn from those L's, right? So I would love for everyone, if you have anything, if not, it's okay, but to share a lesson that maybe you learned the hard way, that could teach someone else that's on here today for a Women Build. What is a tough lesson that you learned? And you guys have shared, honestly, so many, but I'll start with you, Sarah.
Look, it's like, which one am I going to grab? What? Every day I'm trying to learn from these lessons that are not losses, these lessons. I'm going to add that to my repertoire. Thank you, Jade. Probably the one that resonates most, and I was thinking about this question, so I brought a tool that I'll share, is giving up control. I am a type A personality. Work ethic is my love language. And like I said earlier, I am a problem solver. I bring solutions to clients and brands' problems on a daily basis. That's what we do. That's what my job is at 1820. And for me, control, the flip side of control is it can be a micromanager. You can be a micromanager. You can try to control everybody's life. As a producer, and I'm very strategic, I do, if you come to me and I'm like, well, you should do this, right? So for me, it was releasing control so that I would have control of my life. And in a business setting, how it was showing up was as a micromanager. So to release control allowed me to have a better relationship with the colleagues that I had. This was in corporate America. I brought it into creative America as well. And then in my personal life, I have a better relationship with my friends, better relationship with my husband, and just better relationship overall. I'm going to share with you a tool that a friend sent to me. When she sent it to me, I cussed her out. In a healthy Christian way, of course, but I did. I did. I was like, why'd you send me this? Why'd you send me this book? What are you trying to say to me? It's a book called Control Girl. I'm just going to put it up so you can see it. She sent it to me years ago. It's not something that you can read the whole book in a day. Within the first couple of pages, first chapter, I was bawling. I texted my friend and said, you love me, which is why you sent me this book. It wasn't meant to harm me. It was meant to help me become a better person and a better friend, a better wife, and a better business owner. And all of that is true. So for me, the toughest lesson was giving up control so that I would have more control of my life.
I'm logging off. Oh, Lord, if you didn't just speak to me, that was for me. Ooh, my goodness. Okay. Any other lessons any other ladies would love to share? That was good, Sarah.
There it is. That's a good book. I'm totally stealing the lessons, the wins and lessons. I'm
Yes.
using that in class on Saturday.
Who is the
Sunday.
author of that, Sarah, if you don't mind me asking? Oh,
Shannon.
Thanks, Yolanda.
Shannon Popkin. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. I think accountability, I would say. There were times when I was climbing the ladder, I was writing for executives for companies, and I remember the CEO calling down one time and said, can you tell me why? And I knew I was in trouble. And I was like, oh, I did something wrong. And instead of defending myself, I said, you know what? You're exactly right. I should have done it this way. It's not going to happen again. And just owning that accountability, I think was a heavy life lesson. Because I think early on in career, I probably was, wait a minute, I did this because blah, 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 blah. And it was like, no, own it. Because I was wrong, didn't do that quite right. Owning it freed me to then, okay, you know what? I don't want to let him down again. He's been good to me. I don't want to let him down again. So let me start thinking of, and I think sometimes we just don't want to admit the mistakes. We want to defend the mistakes. So accountability goes a long way. I also learned from one of my good friends in HR that an apology goes a long way. And that sometimes you just have to say, you know what, didn't do that great. I apologize and leave it there. Not I apologize, but I apologize, let the apology stand and then leave. So I think accountability was a life lesson, a career lesson I had to learn. And then the apology part was probably a life lesson I had to learn. So learn how to say, I'm sorry.
Okay, real quick. If you are being blessed today in the chat, if you could just drop a 1 in the chat for me, because look, can I drop some 1s in the chat, please? Because this is every year I say, okay, the panel can't be better than the one from last year. And every single year, look at chat is going crazy. This is phenomenal. Okay. Iris, Susan, would either one of you, Iris, I see your mic is unmuted. So yes, let's go into the lesson.
To me, the hardest one, and it's even hard to swallow, even it's okay to make mistakes. Oh. It is okay. Doesn't mean that I don't apologize. I certainly do when I do, and I own up to it. But I didn't realize how much pressure I was putting on my team until I had someone on the phone at 9 o'clock at night crying that it was really rough going into our marketing calls. And this is sad that I admit it because, and I am vocal about it now because it is a lesson that I had to learn as a leader, that I was putting so much pressure on my team to be this perfect idea of this is how we have to go out. This was about 3 years ago, so it's very recent. But for me, it's like I have this pressure that we have to deliver, and we have to deliver at this quality every single time. It is okay to make mistakes. It is okay to allow your team to make mistakes. That's the only way they're going to get better. And that was a big turn on how I led after that, because I'm like, you have a grown man that I truly respect on a call crying. that it's very tough. And for me, it was such a big pill to swallow that I realized, what am I doing wrong? And that I have to go back and look at myself, inner self. What am I putting out there? And how do I change it? And you do it, and you do it, and you do it for them. The team is the most proudest, the employees that I have, they're the proudest thing that I am, I always talk about. They're hustlers, they're agile, they will, they will do everything I need them to do, that it's because I had to switch how I led, and it was allowing them to make mistakes.
Oh, that is really, because we can become perfectionists, and oh, okay. All right.
Because as women, we're like, no, we have to be seen as this. We have to be at our game every single day. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're still a human being at the end of the day. You're still a human being when you wake up in the morning too. And to me, it's like, I didn't realize how much it was actually going on to them. And I'm like, I need to stop, because they're going to leave me soon and I can't do that. So that really was a big switch for me.
That's really great. Susan?
Yeah, I learned this the hard way, and in practice, I've been more affirmed in doing it. If there is ever a situation at work or at home where I am irritated or mad about something because I have decided what the intent of the other person is, or I can tell because they've done this 1,000 times, or when you find yourself there, I have more often gotten myself out of a bind by trying to stop, not emailing, try if I can face to face, but getting on the phone and saying, hey, I just want to understand what's going on here. And it saved me from launching so many times or acting out of the wrong place. So if I can not tell myself a story when I'm irritated, a lot of times we end up together in a better place. I don't always love that, because I'd just rather be right and irritated sometimes. I'm sad to say. But I end up like looking a lot smarter if I stop and try to understand what is it really exactly. And because you know what, you don't lose anything if in fact you were right in your irritation. Now you're just better informed, and then you're gonna have to negotiate through it. So stopping, checking in person if you can.
That's good. That communication is extremely, extremely important.
Susan hit the nail. Like, if you can exercise the 24-hour rule before you respond, this is such a quick respond culture these days. If you can exercise a 24-hour rule and to take yourself out of being offended and get yourself into a calm, not emotional state, it will serve you well. I know we have all on this panel had challenges with that. I'm confident at some time or another. So exercise the 24-hour rule.
I was going to say, were you on my call yesterday? No, I'm joking, but yes, every single day. It's like, okay, take a breath. That is, oof, this is good. This is really good. So for me, I want to share one. One of the lessons that I learned is to block out the noise. Sometimes we can become people pleasers as women, right? And you have to block out the noise to not let anyone or any career redirect what your purpose is, right? And tell you who you're supposed to be. That was a big one for me. Is like, you realize over the years, if you've been complimented in a certain area, whether it's being a hard worker, right? You're going to just work harder because that's what you're known for. That's your reputation. That's your, whatever it is that people always acknowledge, we tend to do that. And before you know it, we're not focused, and we're becoming something that we weren't supposed to be because other people on the outside told us that's who we were, instead of stopping down and saying, wait, who do I want to be? Who am I? So that was a big one for me, is like blocking out the which is a daily challenge, right? Blocking out the outside noise and doing what God wants you to do as opposed to what everybody expects you to do is a big one for me. Now I want to take a couple of questions from the audience. We have so many people chiming in. Susan, I'll start with you on this one. Is it possible, because I know you said you have children, is it possible to have dreams of being on the C-suite level, but you have a family with small children?
I definitely think it's possible, and I want to acknowledge that it's hard and it takes help. And one of the things I wish if I could change one thing in the world, it'd be that we all felt great about the childcare opportunities available to us. I think the kids are better off. Everybody does it differently, but if mom's fulfilled and living into her calling and modeling that, and then better at home because she's resourced enough, I think that's a great world to live in. I don't want to act like that's easy, but yes, you can do it, but it takes some strategy and some teamwork and some timing. And we could do an hour and a half on that, but I believe that you can do it.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to the next question. I do want to talk before we get off. I want to talk about the conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Of course, that continues to grow. What do you think DEI means for women? And how can we support DEI efforts in our workplace, also in our communities? Iris, I'll start with you.
I'm going to go a little bit about, I think the hardest thing for people, especially when you're going into a company or to business and even being in a C-suite level or even director, assistant, whatever, everyone's trying to place you in a template. And it's weird and it's hard to identify with you because you don't fit this certain template. And Yolanda, you said something earlier that I wrote down too as well, but it's also like, come in as your authentic self, because that is the diversity that people need. Where eventually, and I know we've talked about this, I've talked about it in different panels, is we're at the point where diversity isn't a role. It is just the foundation of how you're coming in. It's not a task that you have to check off. It's not a campaign that you have to launch. It's not a language you have to speak that everyone needs to speak. But for me, it's making sure that you are showing up. And I go back to that same thing because it's true. You show up as your authentic self. I speak Spanish, try to teach people Spanish. Sometimes I'm yelling at them, but it's really more about making it fun and understanding that we're all different. And that's the best way to be. Why would you want to be the same? But I think that's the hardest thing for other people to adapt, is that they're trying to fit you in a template and so somehow you don't fit into that piece, but that's okay. You want to show them why you don't and educate. And I think that's one of the biggest things, especially when a business, when I see like, oh, we should hire more people of color to meet this, quota of diversity, I'm like, you're already going the wrong way. Mm-hmm. You're already starting off you're already starting off and failing for yourself and failing the business too. And whoever your customers or fans are, for us, it's our fans. Everything that we do is for the fan. And I know we talked about this a little bit, but everything that we do, and our fans look different. There's 20,000 fans that we have to, throw a party for every single night for 41 games. Our court is different. Our community is different. We have to be and adapt to everything. And we have to look like that from an employee standpoint, from our lingo, from our values, from everything. And it is okay to ask the question, why not? Why aren't we doing this? Why are we not doing this? It makes people uncomfortable, but you want to get to those uncomfortable conversations so that way you can make a difference and change. That's why we're doing more Spanish content. That's why we're doing more Spanish media. It's because no one asked the question. Mine was, hey, weren't we doing any Spanish stuff? Well, no one's ever asked. Ask. Okay, great. Be that one person to ask. And if you're on the call and if you're in groups like this, be the person asking questions. Be that voice, because other people are probably thinking and they're just scared to ask.
That's great. Be the voice. I have to ask you, I have to get to one last question in the chat. Kayla has asked this twice. I do see you, Kayla. How do you make the jump? If you want to change careers, how do you make the jump?
Ooh, very courageously. It is not an easy decision. When I left news, that was my decision. I didn't do it the right way. I will say that. Life lesson, but that's for another day. I was very arrogant about it. I'm leaving. I don't want to be in this anymore. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't have a plan. But you really have to do the work. You really have to network, because when you want to change a career, your resume says X. You got to network like crazy to get someone to believe in you enough that you can make the jump here. And then when I did change careers from news to corporate America, I was the last one to leave every night. I had an amazing mentor, Mary Jackson. We're still close to this day. She hired me out of news, and I needed to learn quickly. It was not like, she hired me as a director. I was like, oh, I got to hurry up. So I stayed late every night. I sat with our CFO and listened to him explain the business. I sat with her. I traveled with her. I did everything I could. Can I sit in on that meeting? Can I do this? If they said, no, okay, I understand. But okay, can you follow up with me after the meeting? Is there anything I need to learn from that? So you have to be willing to do the work. You can't just wish it. What is this manifesting that everybody talks about now? I just want to manifest this. No, you got to do the work. You got to seek out the people who can help you get there. so that you can start to build your resume. Maybe it's volunteer work where we're doing that or whatever, but it is a courageous jump. Kudos to anybody who says, you know what, this wasn't my call. I know I went to school for this. I've been doing this my whole life. Kudos for you for making that leap and that jump, because it's not an easy thing, but it can be done. And I'm sure some of the other ladies probably have better explanations there.
No, it was great. Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in on this question?
No, I was just going to add to Yolanda's thing. And it's like, it's actually something that I always leave, and it's super easy, and it sounds cheesy, but it's not. Respect everybody. You never know where we're going to end up. You never know where they're going to end up. The networking, putting yourself in situations like that, even if they said no, they didn't show up to your email, they didn't show up to your event, they didn't respond to your email, respect them at the end of the day, because that's who you are. That's your brand that shows up every single day. You are not them. Do not act like them. And that's what gets you into the doors. That's what people are going to remember, not these titles that you have. Your brand is the most important thing. I know Lady Jade, and I know what she did, but that's not who I associate her with. I associate with her with what she is. She's honest. She listens. She's loyal. She's amazing. She's an entrepreneur. She's a hustler. Those are the first things that you remember from people, that even from the groups here, from the group, the people, the ladies that are speaking, you're going to remember that first. And that's why you need to show up as your brand every single day. And I tell everybody, when you walk out the door, I'm still Iris. I'm not CMO. I'm still at the grocery store as Iris. I'm going to my parents' house making tamales as Iris. And that's it. But you got to be a little bit humble and eat some of that humble pie, because it really is true. And it'll smack you in the face whenever you don't realize that you're going the wrong way and you're going in the wrong direction when it comes to just the character that you build. But self-brand is definitely the most important thing to get you in through the doors.
Awesome.
Jade, if
Susan,
I
I saw
can
you
add-
on. Oh yeah, go ahead, Sarah. Yeah.
Oh, no, Susan, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I'll be quick. I did the weirdest, I'm sure my parents thought it was the weirdest thing they've ever heard. I went from practicing in a big law firm to writing grants in the copy room at Genesis Women's Shelter. Okay. I'm sure they were delighted. Kudos to them for not expressing themselves, but I knew I had to do it. And I had a lot of self-talk about taking that, quite a lateral move, a move to learn the industry I felt called to be in. I'm not saying everybody has to, I'm not saying prepare to step back. That may not be the case for you. But if it is, it's okay, because it'll come around in the end. And it doesn't hurt to learn the industry, as Yolanda was saying, by sitting at people's, learning all the parts of it. And the last thing I'd say is I had a lot of self-talk I had to do. I knew I was called not to practice law in a big law firm anymore, but working in South Dallas in the copy room also wasn't what I had in mind either. And I learned a great phrase, like, get over myself. So there's a lot of steps in the change that go from where you are now. And maybe you're making a change for the better and this doesn't apply. But if there's a whispering voice inside you saying you should do it for long enough, then work the steps you're going to have to do it. I promise it will be worth it.
I'm going to add real quick, Jade, real quick, two things. One is, somebody just did it the other day to me. If you find somebody like on LinkedIn that's doing what you want to do or what you think you want to do, reach out to them and ask them for a 10-minute conversation. We already talked about how to do it, and ask them questions, ask for advice. Iris mentioned it earlier. I just did this with somebody else that's trying to make a hard pivot. The other thing, I think Carmen put it in the chat, another book to get, you should have it on your shelf, is what color is my parachute? Again, it's what color is my parachute? You should have this as a primer on your shelf. You're going to want to give it to friends. It will help you think about what your skill set is and what your transferable skills are. You can put me in a car dealership. You can put me at the Mavs, at Tolleson. My mind automatically is going to go strategic. Why? Because I know what my transferable skills are. I'm automatically going to be a networker. I'm in sales. That's the core of my DNA. That book, What Color is My Parachute, will help you to decipher who you are and what you want to do and how you transfer your skills from one place to the next.
This has been I don't want this to end. I really don't want this to end. This has been outstanding today. Each of you, you've made a tremendous difference in the world. You've made a tremendous difference here in Women Build Dallas 2023. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for the nuggets. Thank you for the information. As I said when we first started, I knew without a doubt that women would walk away today feeling full. And you all have filled cups on today by sharing your journey, sharing your story. And taking the time to do so. Sarah, you mentioned that earlier. Sometimes it's just time that we have to give. And for you all to take the time today to pour, thank you. Thank you so much. Everybody in the chat is asking for your LinkedIns or your Instagrams or whichever way is best to communicate. If you don't mind dropping that in the chat so that people can continue to follow your journey and be inspired. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I love and admire each one of you ladies, and you all have been a blessing, not only to the panel, but to me today as well. I'm going to bring Carmen back up to close us out. That went by really fast, but when I say outstanding, Carmen, outstanding.
Amazing. You know, the women that surround this panel and are on this chat today have been phenomenal. I love they are organically connecting with one another in the chat. They are finding a way to ask for help. They are finding all of these things that you were talking about, panelists. They are finding a way to support one another. This is a community. You bring a bunch of, you bring 400 women together. We're going to figure out a way to get together and be friends. I love that about women specifically. So thank you for the book references. Thank you for the advice. Thank you for the love. Ladies and gentlemen on the panel that are participating and hearing these words. Thank you for your love and encouragement. We're going to send out the video tomorrow, and we can include everyone's LinkedIn link if they would like for us to the group that was here today. And then we can also include the book recommendations. There were a lot of really good ones, and I'm going to go on Amazon here in just a second and order some myself. So ladies, thank you. I want to ask you one last time, people that are still on, there's 250 of you. Please, please, please take out your phone. Make a donation. It does not matter the size. Please understand that every gift that you make today will support women on their journey to a better life for their families, to teach their children and their children's children and their children's children's children how to be more financially stable, how to understand home ownership, how to understand their finances and be able to leverage them for something great. Please, please, please take out your phone, make a gift. It doesn't matter the size. It can be modest. It can be exorbitant. Please just give. Put your hands in this work. Put your financial resources in this work if you can. Email me. I put the email in the chat a couple of different times. We'll send that out again tomorrow with the video link. But email me if you're interested in being a part of Women Build. We'd love to have you. We are building a really strong, wonderful community. We've got some great leaders already, and we'd love to have you. There are plenty of seats at the table, ladies, plenty of seats at the table. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Panelists, I am inspired. We are all amazed. I hope that you've been able to enjoy some of the chat. It's been phenomenal. You have really, really, really touched lives today, and I'm so grateful. There's a lot of people saying we should just do this more often, right? This should be our podcast. So we'll get right on that. We'll schedule that podcast. But in the meantime, watch out for a link that's got a recording to the video, our recommendations, these lovely ladies' LinkedIn links so that you connect with them, ask them questions, ask for 15 minutes so that you can give your speech, your elevator speech, and ask for what you need. We love you. We're so grateful. The work of Dallas Habitat is inspiring and attracts incredible, warm, generous people. And I am honored to be in this space with you today. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Please, if you can, make a donation to Women Build.